In the annals of American history, few tales captivate the imagination quite like the enigmatic disappearance of the Lost Colony of Roanoke. This enduring mystery begins in 1587, when a cadre of English settlers set sail across the Atlantic with dreams of forging a new life in the uncharted lands of the New World. Their expedition was fueled by the ambitious visions of Sir Walter Raleigh, a prominent English explorer and statesman, and the authoritative backing of Queen Elizabeth Raleigh, driven by the desire to expand England's influence and territory, was determined to establish a foothold in the Americas, thereby securing England's place in the burgeoning colonial race. The chosen leader for this ambitious venture was John White, an experienced navigator and artist. White, accompanied by over 100 men, women, and children, landed on the shores of what is now North Carolina. This location, nestled between the Atlantic Ocean and the Albemarle Sound, was seen as an ideal site for establishing a permanent settlement. The settlers were tasked with the monumental challenge of transforming this wild and untamed land into a thriving community. With high hopes and considerable anticipation, they began constructing rudimentary shelters and setting up their new home, despite the formidable challenges posed by the harsh environment and unfamiliar terrain. The settlers faced numerous obstacles from the start. The land, though rich in potential, was fraught with difficulties, including unpredictable weather, scarce resources, and the daunting task of cultivating crops in an alien climate. Compounding their struggles were the complex and often strained interactions with local indigenous tribes. These encounters ranged from cautious cooperation to outright hostility, reflecting the deep-seated tensions and cultural misunderstandings between the European newcomers and the native inhabitants who had lived on these lands for centuries. Despite these formidable challenges, the settlers remained resolute in their ambition to establish a successful colony, driven by their dreams of prosperity and their unwavering belief in the promise of the New World. Act 1. The colony's establishment. Upon their arrival, the settlers of Roanoke were immediately confronted with the formidable task of establishing a viable community in the New World. Their initial efforts were focused on constructing basic shelters to protect themselves from the elements and establishing a foothold in the unfamiliar terrain. The settlers quickly began the arduous work of tilling the soil and attempting to cultivate crops, a task complicated by the unpredictable climate and soil conditions that differed greatly from their homeland in England. The daily life of these early colonists was marked by a constant struggle to adapt and survive. Their initial enthusiasm was soon tempered by the harsh realities of their new environment. Extreme weather conditions, such as intense heat and heavy rainfall, presented significant obstacles to their agricultural efforts. Furthermore, the settlers faced a persistent shortage of resources, a situation exacerbated by the lack of timely supplies and reinforcements from England. Compounding their difficulties were the complex interactions with the local indigenous tribes. The native peoples, who had lived in the region for centuries, were cautious and often mistrustful of the newcomers. While some tribes offered valuable assistance sharing their knowledge of the land and local resources, others viewed the settlers as intruders and were defensive of their territories. This led to a precarious and often strained coexistence, characterized by frequent misunderstandings and cultural conflicts. Despite these relentless challenges, the settlers' determination to build a prosperous community never wavered. Each day, they worked tirelessly, driven by their hope for a successful future and their unwavering belief in the promise of the New World. Their resilience in the face of adversity was a testament to their commitment to establishing a thriving colony, even as uncertainty and hardship loomed over their new settlement. The mystery unfolds. In 1587, John White, the governor of the Roanoke Colony, made the fateful decision to return to England for critical supplies and reinforcements. The settlers had been grappling with severe shortages and challenges, and White's journey was intended to secure the resources necessary for their survival. Among those he left behind were his daughter, Eleanor Dare, and his newborn granddaughter, Virginia Dare. White's departure was a hopeful endeavor to return quickly to assist the struggling colony. However, his plans were severely disrupted by a series of unforeseen events, most notably the outbreak of the Anglo-Spanish War. This conflict diverted English naval resources and ships, delaying White's return to Roanoke. By the time White was able to return, 3 long years had passed. When he finally arrived in 1590, the sight that greeted him was both eerie and disheartening. The settlement, once bustling with activity and hope, had become a ghost town. White's heart must have sunk as he surveyed the scene. Houses were empty and in disrepair. Tools lay discarded, and there were no signs of life. It was clear that something had gone terribly wrong. The only clue left behind was a single word, CROATOAN, carved into a post and another into a tree. This message pointed to a nearby island, known as CROATOAN Island, which was inhabited by the CROATOAN tribe, one of the groups with whom the Roanoke settlers had established contact. White interpreted this as a potential sign that the colonists had moved to the island for safety. In response, he organized an expedition to search the island, hoping to find his missing compatriots. However, the search proved fruitless. No trace of the settlers was found on CROATOAN Island or in its vicinity. The mysterious disappearance of over 100 people, including families and individuals who had once been full of ambition and hope, left White and subsequent generations of historians and archaeologists in a state of profound bewilderment. Despite numerous theories and extensive investigations, the fate of the Roanoke settlers remains one of history's most haunting puzzles. The enigmatic nature of the CROATOAN message continues to provoke speculation, suggesting that the settlers' fate might be hidden within the folds of history or lost among the intricacies of their interactions with the indigenous tribe. Act 3. Theories and speculations. The fate of the Lost Colony of Roanoke has been a subject of fascination and debate for centuries, leading to a plethora of theories and speculations about what might have happened to the settlers. Each theory offers a unique perspective on the mystery, yet none provide a definitive answer, leaving the enigma of Roanoke as one of history's most enduring puzzles. One prevalent theory suggests that the settlers were assimilated into friendly Native American tribes, particularly the CROATOANs. This theory is supported by archaeological findings of European-style artifacts, such as pottery and tools, discovered in areas inhabited by indigenous communities. These artifacts indicate that there was likely interaction between the settlers and the native tribes, suggesting a possible blending of cultures. The discovery of European goods on Hatteras Island, formerly known as CROATOAN Island, lends further credence to the idea that the Roanoke settlers might have sought refuge among the CROATOAN tribe. Historical records and oral traditions from the descendants of the CROATOAN tribe add another layer to this theory. These accounts describe interactions between the settlers and the indigenous people, hinting that the colonists might have been absorbed into the tribe. The CROATOAN tribe's oral histories tell of English individuals who integrated into their society, which aligns with the archaeological evidence of European artifacts in native settlements. Such stories, although not definitive, provide valuable context and suggest a possible scenario in which the settlers adapted to the ways of their new environment in a bid for survival. Another theory posits that the settlers fell victim to hostile tribes or faced dire conditions such as starvation and disease. The harsh environment and lack of resources would have made survival incredibly challenging. Some researchers believe that conflicts with local tribes, who were wary of the newcomers and defended their territories fiercely, could have led to violent encounters. Disease and starvation, compounded by the settlers' limited supplies and the delays in resupply missions, might have contributed to their eventual demise. Recent archaeological efforts have indeed yielded tantalizing hints, but no conclusive evidence. The discovery of artifacts suggests that there was at least some level of contact and cultural exchange between the settlers and the indigenous peoples. Yet these findings alone do not fully unravel the mystery. The blending of European and Native American cultures indicated by these artifacts supports the theory of assimilation, but the lack of clear and direct evidence means that this remains speculative. Theories about the settlers' fate continue to evolve as new discoveries are made. Each piece of evidence, whether it is an artifact, a historical account, or an oral tradition, adds to the complex tapestry of the Roanoke mystery.